All right, I think I am live. We will see if that is true. And I have a window open. Yes, all is good. So, hello, anyone who's watching there. I've recorded a few videos last week exploring Rust, making a terminal user interface, DSL, and I made some progress actually over the weekend that I didn't stream because it was too painful and it would have taken many hours. But what I have currently is, well, what that just was. So this is built from scratch. It doesn't look like much right now, and it's all made up nonsense, but I can hit up and down, and you see the arrows moving, and it's re-rendering, and the size can change. When I hit load, it'll load some issues. Notice how it sort of does it over time. I'm using async Rust, and yeah, I have a little app framework going on. And there's still a lot to do, but I'm a little happier with it than I am with Ratatouille, using that out of the box. Especially because Ratatouille doesn't really give you a lot in terms of running your application. It has a lot of great tutorials, but you basically have to piece everything together yourself, especially if you're going to use async. You have to set up your whole event handler thing, and you basically have to write a whole bunch of code instead of just having it sort of pre-built. And I want it pre-built, so I spent a lot of time pre-building it for myself. So yeah. Let me see. Why is this sad? Unreachable pattern. I don't. Oh. Oh yeah. It is unreachable. Thanks, Rust. I love some types. Um. So yeah, there's still a lot to do, but I'm pretty happy about it. One thing that's what is it called again? Ratatouille cannot do that this variation can is run this inline mode, where notice how when I start the thing, it appears at the bottom of the screen. It doesn't take over the entire window, which is fine for certain things. Like I use the lazy git, and that's great. That makes sense to always take over the screen just because there's so much to do. But if it's like a little inline tool, trying to think of something else I can show off. Because there's this thing called, what is it, npm something update. What's a library I have that's probably out of date? Please be out of date. Oh no, I updated it. Damn it. That's not what I wanted to do. Undo. No, not. I did it again. I'm bad. ncu-I for interactive mode. Ah, yes. So you choose which packages you want to update. And there's only going to be a few of them, and you probably don't want this to take over your entire screen, but just kind of be this little inline tool that claims some vertical space and then goes away. And how do I get out of here? Escape. It's actually a little wacky. Why does it? That's strange. So if I go down, it loops around, but when I go up, it sort of disappears before looping around the bottom. Don't know why. Seems like an odd interaction. So yeah, this is something that hopefully we could very trivially build now with the current project. So if I go back to this meld thing and I run cargo run release, yeah, so it just takes up the amount of room it needs, and then it can grow as well vertically, and it still just takes up as much room as it needs until it fills up the entire screen, and then it will actually not grow beyond that. And this is why I'll probably need to build a sort of a scrolling view, which is definitely possible, but not done yet. So the state is still there. You see that goes off the bottom. It takes a while before it comes around the top, but and if I resize, it should also be able to re-render. So pretty happy with that. it looks okay. And basically the way you define your app, so this is, I switched over this Jira GitLab tool to using my library now. And the way it works, I think is a little simpler than Ratatouille as well. So what do I do here? I have some helper methods here. So you make views basically with the SwiftUI view syntax. And it's not perfect yet by any means. But if I want to, for instance, render each one of those little issues there, make this smaller. So for each one of these issues, that's this bit of code. So I have a selected index, sort of the currently selected, sorry, the index of this issue. So whatever, 0, 1, 2 from top to bottom. And it's selected if its index is equal to the current issue index, which is one of these two fields on our app struct. And then the color will be determined, well, if it's selected, it's yellow, otherwise it's, can I just do color? Yeah, I can just do color. That's nice. So if it's selected, it's yellow, otherwise it's reset, which is sort of the plain default terminal color, whatever that is. And if it's selected, the cursor is either the arrow or a space. Similar color scheme there. I guess I could probably get rid of that and do color there as well. Same deal. So yeah, and then I have it in a horizontal stack view, which will compose these horizontally with a space between them. So first there's the cursor, then there's the issue key, and then it's bold if selected. So I have a little helper there to conditionally turn bold on and off for the issue word, which is pretty subtle. Maybe I can go and make, maybe I can go and make a underline when method. So let's do that. Underline when. So that's a little more obvious, hopefully. Yay. A little more clear. I'm not sure if that's better from a UI perspective, but it works. And then there's a dim modifier as well. And these all apply sort of within the context that they're applied to. So if I instead, I could delete these colors from within here and put one big color around the end of it, and that will apply to everything within that subview. So notice how they're all yellowish, even though, I mean, it's supposed to be yellow. It looks kind of orange, but you know, when doing terminal UIs, you can't really get to pixel perfect. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And there's also a border. This will look terrible. I don't even really know what this is going to do, but it might just explode. Did it explode? Oh no, okay, good. All right, that's crazy looking. Also, I think that might be, there's some kind of issue here. Yeah, there's some kind of bug. So this is not going to look good. It shouldn't look good, but at least there's a bug to fix. So let me do that. And this will allow anyone who's curious to see the implementation details of all these things I added. So a border is another kind of view, and it contains a child there. I don't think I need to specify that there. Learning strange things about Rust. So often it is the case, or it's at least not necessary to put the constraint on that. For some reason, I'm not using it. Nothing broke. And I probably, do I need it here? I might need it there. I guess I don't even need it there. Okay, so here I have some helper methods for drawing borders. And I must not be doing this correctly because it's all rendering in a crazy wonky way. Particularly, it looks like the top bar is drawn too much. So let's look at the horizontal line. So start X. Yeah, start X should not be that. It should be the left corner, maybe plus 1. And let's see if that fixed it. Yay. Except then it should also, the index is actually, I believe, the end width. I don't think I want to. Huh. Maybe that's fine. Oh yeah, it's the vertical line is the issue. I think I just want to draw it at the width. Do. Oh, okay. And then same thing with no minus ones. Let's try that again. Interesting. Huh. I seem to have broken some stuff. Let me undo some of that. Undo, undo, undo. Well, I definitely want to start at left plus 1. So let me try that again. Good. But then the problem is it needs to be, get one more space there. So that vertical line should be at width, I'm pretty sure. Ah, but now everything's going a little wacky. Huh. Yeah, and the top corner is screwed up too. Yeah, exactly. Actually, everything is just a little weird though. It could be the values I'm passing in here as well. But yeah, let's fix those corners. So top left, I think I want that to be just width. But then everything else has gone crazy. Okay, yeah. So I just need to make sure everything goes to the width. And then I guess width plus 1? Or is that just width? Ta-da! No, oh, no. I don't know why this looks so crazy to me. All right, I guess it needs to be plus 1. I must be screwing up how I'm passing in the width or the size in the first place, so that's probably what I should fix. But hey, Angel. Hey, Angel. How you doing? And other people. Oh, people have arrived. I was just kind of talking to myself for a while. So welcome. Yes, I am. I'm working on my little terminal UI library and trying to fix things. And it's not perfect. I mean, that's right now, but now this whole outer thing is a little wonky. And I should probably write some testing code for this instead of just fixing it live like this. Just it's so easy to write tests in Rust. Hey Kaiser, welcome back. Yeah, this code is pretty awful anyway. I will make this smaller. Can we at least see one? Oh, yeah, I'm getting some kind of issue as well. I think I must be an overflow or just nothing's rendering. What's happening? Where's the bug? What's exploded? I don't understand. What's happened? Is it quitting? Or just nothing renders? Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. So then you sort of know what I'm working on. Yes, I've completely ripped out the Ratatouille code and have re-implemented it. To basically looking a lot at the source code of the initial one as well. Okay. All right. I'm glad I took off that border actually. So yeah, it's working on this TUI library, and hopefully it's going to be really nice to use. Having tried a couple of them now, I like its API. I like this API the most, the SwiftUI style API. And looking at this, actually, I'm noticing that I just think there's something wrong with something else. Maybe if I do a color blue as a background. I haven't really tried background yet. Oh, yeah, there it goes. Huh. Interesting. So, actually, I think it only draws the background. That's just something I should note. It only draws the background if there's text there. No, actually, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. If I did something like text and then have a space, let's see what that would do. Will it add some more blue? It does. So it looks like the padding is just screwed up on whatever contains this. So I'm going to set spacing to 0 as well. And yeah, it looks like we're getting a bunch of extra padding around this thing. And that might be, yeah, I don't know why, actually. So let's see, where am I calling render issue? Down here. This I don't love, but this is kind of just how Rust works, I guess. This is also very aggressive about indenting things. Yeah, no, I should definitely write some tests for this, but it's just too fun to debug it live. At least this part. But then I will actually, in fact, I need something to do on this stream beyond just poke around, and something that I've been wanting to do is make it really easy to write tests against this stuff. But basically testing the full stack, so how it writes, it's like this double buffering technique that then eventually issues commands to the terminal. So I want to basically make a fake terminal that instead stores a map of text and a current cursor position, and then we can test against that thing. And that'll probably help everything be more reliable. I could actually just also test some very basic things just based on values, just like the size values for these views, because I'm pretty sure that something's broken with the size values. Because let me see, where do I put the border here? I'm going to go in here. Uh-oh. What have I done? And remove the title and render that. Yeah, pretty wonky. What if I do background color red? What's that going to look like? Okay, nothing. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. I'm pretty sure my border is doing something bad. And adding all that extra space, and I didn't notice it. So let me just check very quickly. Actually, I'll write some tests. In fact, I'm not going to write some tests. I'm going to tell the AI, write some tests for borders size method. Hopefully this works. Uh-oh. Uh-huh. Use HStack and text views, please. All right. I did. I wrote a TUI with Scala. In fact, I'm basically implementing something I've already done in Scala. And I wrote one for Scala Native as well that basically is the same thing. The only problem is with Scala Native is that it doesn't well, it's maybe not Scala Native's fault, but a lot of the effect systems I like to use don't support it at the moment. So Zio doesn't have an implementation that works on the new Scala Native. And I was about to make a PR for that, but there's some dependencies, transitive dependencies that don't support the new Scala Native. So because it was this big breaking change, this new Scala native version that adds, I think it adds support for threading or something that these effect libraries really need. But because it's a breaking change, every other library needs to get updated too. But let me make a new terminal because I could show you. How do I do this? Where's my terminal? Is that new terminal? New. Oh, I have to select the working directory. I see. I see. So I'm going to go into something. I need to pick a library I haven't worked on in a long time. So we get a lot of things, a lot of problems. Maybe I could just go to Zio. Or I'll go to the, no, this is the terminus library, shoot. Gonna go to my code directory. Cool, so this is actually my Scala version of this project. Oh, too many. And then I will try to do Scala update. Which is this? Target. Aha, found it. Yay, so this is the same thing except written in Scala. And it seems to have doubled up its title, so a little buggy. And it looks like there are only 2 new updates here. Scala 3 library and munit. Oh, and I guess I could take this one. Yeah, exactly. No, it's definitely something I've done a few times before. Yeah, the TUI world is, I'm well acquainted with it. I've built random, here's another version that I actually have on Homebrew that will update your Scala libraries for you. But I rewrote it in Scala Native, and now I'm rewriting it in Rust. So it's always good to have a project or a problem that you're familiar with to test out on new languages. Some people I know write markdown parsers to test out their new languages. I guess it's a variation of the Feynman technique of where you keep a series of problems. Is it Feynman or is it that other guy? Anyway, you keep like a running list of problems in your head. Of course, he was trying to deal with like, fundamental problems of physics and whatnot. And then every time you come across a new solution, in our case, a new programming language, just, run it on all your problems. See if it cracks any of them or makes it easier. So anyway, let me read these automatically generated tests that the AI gave to me. First of all, I just want to do a view.border. Same with down here, please. Okay, so I'm going to calculate in my head how large this view should be. So it's the words test and view. And then I want it to basically, it should be like that. So an HStack by default gives a one space between each character, and then I have my border give 1 space on either side before adding the border. So that is 13 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3. So expected size, it should be 13 and 1. And proposed size, I can just do size max. I can offer it all the size that it needs. And then we'll see that. Does this work? No, it failed. So yeah, clearly, wait, height 3. Oh shit. That actually makes sense because it would have added the border atop of it. So yeah, that's totally correct. Now the next thing that I would need is actually it's why did it think? Well, anyway, that's wrong. It tried to do some math there, but it screwed up. So yeah, I don't know why. It must be a problem with the rendering logic, which I do not have tests yet for. Let's see. Test the rendering logic by rendering this view to a buffer. Okay. We'll see. if it works. Okay. It's not the expected output, but it really tried. And anyway, so I can feel the pain here and make my tests, make this nicer to do. It's totally screwed up right now. So we'll have a buffer of, yes, the expected size, I suppose. I'm pretty sure I have some tests already that do this kind of thing. Assert rendered view. Can I make this into a pub crate function? I probably can. I'm going to copy it over though because I want to modify it. Assert rendered view. Use, oh, what's happened? Oh, there it is. Use assert rendered view, please. Ta-da! Let me get rid of the bottom thing so I can actually see. Okay. Okay, that's not the right icons. Use the correct border characters. Characters. Please figure it out. Yes. I love AI. It's so good. It's ridiculous. It feels like cheating. It is cheating. I'm gonna go stupid. So yeah, let's see. Is this actually failing? Oh, and I also want pretty assert, please. Pretty assertions, which I do not have. So I will go down here and cargo. Oh, I think I'm in the wrong one now. Z Rust, CD terminus, cargo add pretty assertions. Nice. Okay. So now what's sad? It's just exploding. Oh. Index out of bounds. Length is 39, but the index is 40. So yeah, there's definitely something going on where it's trying to render it outside of the boundary. So that's no bueno. The way this is supposed to work is that especially because that is 13.3, right? Yeah. I'm going to give it a little more room. And we'll see what happens. Oops. Cool. So yeah, it's totally run. It's running wide. We can see. Oh, I love it. What a beautiful diff view. I guess I could just actually give it, could have just given it one more character because that'll still break it anyway, but it won't panic. Or will it? 15. Will it panic still? Okay, no, there we go. So let's see why that's happening. I'm clearly screwing up in my render method. Not my size method, just the rendering method. So how this works is I have some child view and okay, go away Copilot for just a minute. I have some child view of a particular size. I wish it were easier to draw in here. So this might be offered the entire screen, right? There's some giant terminal window. Boom, boom, boom. I should go all the way to the end as well. I'm, all right, failing at Vim here. So that could be the whole window. But if we're just trying to render, if our child is just text hello, while we are going to be offered in this rendering context, which contains a rectangle, which contains sort of an origin and a size, we might be offered this whole thing, but hello is only going to need, whatever, that much room to render. And so we're going to offer the whole space to our child. Oh, it's because I'm saying self.size instead of child.size. Maybe I'll have to see. Anyway, the idea is the child's only going to need that much room, but we're actually going to take up slightly more room than that because we're going to, the way this works is we take a proposed size, we inset it on 2 on either side for the border and then that space. From the top, we 1 down. Doom. So we actually offer it slightly less room in case we don't know the size of our child, but in case the child did want to take literally everything, well, we need room for our border. So we're going to offer it slightly less room. And we're going to say, well, you can have this much because we need to, you can have this much. If I can do this correctly. You can have this much because we have to render the border around you. And so it'll offer that to the child. But then the child might just take, that much anyway. And if that's the case, then we're going to take that child size and then outset it, basically undo the what we trimmed off of the thing. So it'll respond with just, it just needs 5 width and 1 height. Then we're going to say, okay, well, we're going to take that, whatever you said, and then add 2 to the left, 2 to the right, and 1 on either side so we can draw the border around that. I should probably also make sure that this never grows beyond proposed, but that's okay. Anywho, so what am I screwing up? So I'm getting the inner rect, or the child's area by insetting from the left and the top by 2. So I'm following that same exact amount. I could have screwed up here somehow, but no, I'm insetting the point. Everything looks fine. I think not doing any strange multiplying. I'm getting my own size. Because that will be the size that I need for the border. And I'm setting the top and the left to be the top and the left, and the bottom to be the right amount. Hello, LB. How's it going? I'm just working on some bugs in my view logic. I think that the problem must be in draw borders, in that I'm clearly, well, it's what I did. I added one too far for that test there. Still 1 too far. So I think it is size width -1. Size width -1. And then, yeah, this should be -1. -1. These should all be -1. Uh-oh. Cool. So that's correct. And then I just need to give it the actual sizes it was expecting. Huh. So that's good. But I should probably have it draw a bordered view within a bordered view. Nice. I mean, that looks pretty wonky, but I think I actually would want it to look like there we go. Like that. Except one fewer there. And how wide is this? This is 14 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this fails. Whoa! So yeah, totally bad. So there's something that happens when I do this. So assert size. Let me run that again. Maybe the size fails too. No, that works. So the size is 14 by 5, yet it screws up horrendously. And that child view is just very strangely drawn. Okay. Weird bug. Why would this be happening? Something about how I'm offering the child this new area. I'm taking the rectangle, I'm insetting it by what I think is the right amount, rendering it. Yeah, it's getting cut off somehow. Is inset by correct? All right. Write some tests for rectangle inset and outset by. Do. Let's start with this. I really love this process of just chatting at the AI to write some tests and then looking at them and making sure they make sense, of course. But if I do have a 30 by 20 and I inset it, yeah, that's totally correct. It should go down from 30 to 20. And the points should be inset by 10 or 10 to 15. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So that's nice. So I don't think there's any issue. Hey, no worries. Welcome back, Jasmine. Yes, I'm making some good progress on this here library. Let me show the pretty thing. Not that it's pretty, but we've achieved. Oh no, I forgot. I made it all crazy looking for debugging purposes. But anyway, pretend it were gorgeous. Yeah, amazing. Once I fix this bug, it'll go back to being aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so back to the awful failing test. Why, oh why, is the interview all messed up? It should be offering the child the right. Yes, inset. Huh. Inset left, right, top, bottom, right? These are the right arguments. Left, right, top, bottom. Indeed. Yeah, it's crazy to me how I know a lot of other people don't really use it. And I get like if your job doesn't let you use it. But beyond that, it's, I mean, I've been using it basically since day one of Copilot, and it was different. It was differently helpful then, but it was still very useful. And you had to sort of hack around it. Like you got a sense, you learned pretty quickly that it was given, the original version of Copilot at least, was given sort of the context in your current file and above your cursor, maybe back a few hundred lines. So you needed to make sure that if you were trying to extrapolate on some pattern, the pattern needed to exist above you. So shifting some code around, maybe as you would normally organize it to facilitate that was useful. But now with this new stuff, I mean, it's just generally amazing. I don't know. Yeah, just using it and getting used to it and trying things out. Some people say it's not good at coding and like it's not perfect. And it definitely, you'll figure out, okay, there's parts where it's just like not going to get this thing. Um, but it's damn good. And for just generating test data or just first passes of tests, or for this application in particular, Cursor is just incredible. And definitely it feels like a bit of a preview of what's going to. Other people are going to figure this out eventually, but they're definitely, I feel like, an order of magnitude more advanced than VS Code and whatnot. I mean, the fact that if you make a change, it'll offer that change upon multiple lines. Uh, so I can do inset cool here, and it's going to, oh, okay, I wrote inset cool, but it's interpreting that I meant inset coordinates, but it's making this offer not only at the point of, sorry, at your cursor position, which is what basically every other application does. It just treats it like normal autocomplete. It'll just complete your cursor. This will change. It basically gets a view of a few lines on either side and will offer changes within that whole thing, which is just crazy, and very, very deeply useful, because you'll start making some change with a purpose and it realizes what that change is, and it can extrapolate what you probably want to do next. They must feed it a series of edits that you've made in the past and then allow it to offer a range. I mean, it's crazy. It's very cool. But that doesn't help me fix the bug. I mean, I could just ask, what do you think the bug's about? that you know what? Help me fix this. Why would this be? I don't know what it just did, but it doesn't hurt to just accept it, and then I can always undo it afterwards. If this fixes it, I'll feel like a failure of a person. Okay, good. It didn't fix it. It did something. Actually, yeah, what did it do? Draw the borders first. I don't really know if that matters. Calculate the inner rect of the child. Yeah, that's what my other method did. Then again, why did it render something slightly different? Inner rect size dot inset. Hmm. Oh, okay. So the problem is the border, actually. I mean, now I'm drawing the child after the border, so that is, I guess, fine. But yeah, ooh, super interesting. What if I don't inset the right-hand side? Well, now it's, okay, no difference. Doesn't really make any sense. This is just exploding for another reason. Okay. Yeah, if I don't inset the left-hand side, it's not going to inset it. But why would not insetting the right-hand side not do anything? Maybe there's a problem with this? Maybe outset by is broken. Don't think so. Width plus left plus right? Oh. Well, this method needs to be update the doc test. Do. I love doc tests as well. Super cool. Um, Still wonky. Well, this is so strange. I've really didn't mean to be spending so much time on this, but I've done something stupid. What else could be implicated here besides my render method? Left, top, bottom. The size is, yeah, I'm sizing myself with the context. Then again, what would, yeah, this would start out as the screen size. What if I do, I don't think I have a size max, do I? Size max, I do. What'll that do? Nothing. Cool. Inset. Jeez, so crazy. What if I just give the child the same area? No, that's nothing. Nothing. Something is wrong. Is this updating? Uh, what if I just return child size? Okay, good. That's bad. What if I outset it by more? Well, now it's going to go out of bounds. What if I don't inset the right? Something is just stupid. Huh. Yes, that would make sense that it's... Maybe there's a problem with the way text renders itself. I didn't really... There is a text in here. Let me go to text. And I do get... Add some tests for text. Do these explode? They're all okay. Do they make any sense? Hello? Proposed size, yeah. Give it max. Nope. Max. Yeah, 5.1. Interesting. All right. Well, damn. Okay, maybe I will not call size because it should be basically child size inset by 2211 size equals outset by. Okay, I've just re-implemented size, but maybe this left and right is wrong. Wait a second. Oh, maybe, I mean, this shouldn't really be different. Wait a second. Hey, take care, Uber Shiny Sheep. Yes. This is probably going to be a boring stream as I'm just staring at, if this were a recorded video, I would cut this out because I feel like a buffoon, but I appreciate it. And if anyone who's here and watching wants me to look at anything else or explain anything that I've done that works or another part of the code base, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep bashing my head against this problem. Or if you have any ideas, of course, open to those. But I feel like maybe the problem has to do with somehow doesn't make sense to do what I'm doing. It does, I think. When I render the child, which is another border view, I want to take my current context and shift it over. And I should draw my border based on what my size was, because my parent would have called this. The one really challenging thing about implementing terminal UI libraries is that you can't rely on print debugging, which is deeply unfortunate. Yeah, because the first border is going to pass along something that's been smushed by 4, which makes perfect sense because that'll be 1, 2 from either side, 1, 2, and that's what it should print. Why? Why, damn you? Why is the first one correct? What if I add another border? How bad is that going to get? Oh. Okay. Huh. So each time I remove too many from, it's just like it's one off, right? Or is it 2 characters off? It's 2 characters off even. I'm shrinking the size too much that I'm offering the child. I must have something wrong. But only the child. Everything else is correct. So something in here, when I'm proposing a size to my child, but then I'm undoing the operation, so it should be a complete inverse. There must be some property-based testing, right? Use property-based testing to ensure that inset of outset is identity. All right, prop tests. I don't even know what, I'm assuming there's a library called prop test. Well, I have so many terminal sessions open. Cargo add prop test, please exist. It exists. Yippee. Will it work? This also could screw up in a lot of ways because of ensure the values are at least Oh, good. So it sets it here. So I want this to be between 50 and 100. And maybe I'll make this between 25, because otherwise I'll go out of bounds or something. So that's super cool. I love prop-based testing. That's amazing. All right. But of course, as usual, being inside of a macro, I don't get any autocomplete, which is super annoying. But as long as the AI writes these things for me, who cares? But it looks like, indeed, the size and there's nothing wrong with inset. I really want to blame inset and outset. I just don't know what could be the culprit here. It's probably something so silly. Wait a second. Could it be this? Calculate the inner rectangle for the child. Well, it should be the size. Oh, it's probably this, actually. I'm just going to go full literal. Is that it? It's that. It's probably that, isn't it? Nope. You never debug line by line. Running each line at a time might reveal where the issue is instead of keeping throwing something on the wall. That, you know what? You're correct. I should probably do that. Rust does have a good debugger, right? It does have a debug mode. Let me do that. Will this work? Oh. Well, maybe that stopped at the panic. Let me try this again. I haven't used the debugger for Rust, but I think, thank you. That's a great idea. I have just entered lazy, sad mode. Let's go to here. Stop and debug again. Let's do the normal debug view. Will it work? Whoa, okay. This is amazing. I didn't realize this would work, or I forgot about it. All right. So let's see what we have. So context has a rect 13.3. Thank you. This is way smarter than what I was doing. Maybe there could also be a problem in my testing code, actually. View.render context 0.0 buffer.size.clone. Which one? I guess I'm doing this one, 13.3. Okay. So I actually don't want to test that one. That one makes sense. I want to do this one. Okay. So I have 18.7. Why do I have 18.7 proposed to me? That is actually interesting. Why is size 18.7? Oh, because that is the size. Okay. So thinking through this, 28.8. This was the buffer size, which is like the size of the terminal window essentially. And then we're going to call, where'd it go? Oh, I called size on myself, and it correctly figures out that it should be 18.7. I think that is what we want. Is that 18? 18 characters? Where'd you go? Character count? Oh, character count. Oh, because I'm debugging it went away. No. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, that's not great. Oh, because I have my triple border. Let me go back to double border mode as well, because the problem was in both. And that would have been 14. So restart. Size, width 18, height 7. That's also not correct. I think maybe I didn't save, maybe because I did restart it. Literally somehow ran the cached code. There we go, 14.5. 14.5, does that make sense? Yes, 5 by 14. 5 by 14. Or 14 by 5. Assert eq outer view size is 14 by 5. Perfect. And let me just restart one more time to make sure that that gets past there. Okay. So 14 by 5, looking good so far. Step forward line by line. Bottom y will be, how am I using bottom y actually? It's just for the border. So that doesn't really matter. And in fact, I'm not even going to think about that because it's doing it correctly. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's the fifth line. So that's correct. Okay. So now the inner rect is 10 by 3 at 2 and 1. And that makes sense to me that it's 10 by 3 because we've subtracted, let me count. Yes, 10 minus, so it was 14, we removed 10 by 3. And the x is now 0, 1, 2, and 1. So that should be the new situation. Let me continue. Continue. Cool. And now I have 10 by 3. And the context is 10 by 3. And it matches my size, which actually makes sense because most of the time the context should be equal to our size because we were offered what we asked for. That should be correct. And now there must be a problem with my draw borders code. That just has to be it. Okay, that's really the only thing that makes sense anyway. But let me see, do the sizes make sense? Because I'm passing along. Where's size? I'm passing along 10 and 3, 1 and 2. That'll make sense to me. I think there must be something in this code that is making the assumption that, oh yeah, that must be it. Except for the fact that the text is cut off. Or is the text being written over, actually? That might be the actual problem. It's not actually truncated. So let me see. Left is 2. Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, but right has to be left plus size plus width. Oh, you're a genius. Thank you, Eva Legume. How did I not debug? Like a fool. I bet it's going to work now. Well, the test is still going to fail, but it should look right. Yes. That was it. That was it. I was looking in all the wrong places, and I would have realized that had I debugged. So, bless your heart. Hadn't I debugged, rather. Sometimes this is my problem. I get a little, it's meditative. I can get lulled, hypnotized by rerunning and staring and thinking. Sometimes it works, but in that case, that allowed me to realize that all the numbers were right, and there was only one place that could have possibly messed up at. So now, passing tests. And now, if I go back to the main and I undo the chaos, the chaotic colors, and I bring back the border, and I go back to one of these thousands of terminals that I've created. Too many terminals. And why are these? I don't know why this happens to me. Help. So funny. And then zmeld cargo run release. And we should have a really weird looking. Wait a sec. Oh, I didn't do the right thing in the right place there. Render issue. Yes, this is what I wanted to undo. Okay. Bring back my border. And yeah. Perfect. I mean, I didn't want the border there, but there's still that problem. And I know why that's happening. But at least now it's rendering correctly. Yay. Yeah, obviously those borders look terrible, but the double border rendering problem is fixed. And there is the issue where if I get too small, it's going to explode because I'm going to draw out of bounds. And there's a bunch of ways of solving that, but I basically need to figure out how do I want to do it for the border. I sort of want to make all of my views shirk at the site of the border, at their rendering context, caving in on them. And so I should handle that here. To do, never draw beyond the proposed size. I should probably have like a max method. Max proposed, or I guess this would be more of does that just work? No, there's no max. I want min proposed, first of all. And I should generate a min method on here. And I don't want that ugly version. I want the nice inline version. So that's very lovely. And we have a doc test. And it failed. Did it fail? Where'd it go? Method min is private. Oh, it is. Wait. Well, no, that shouldn't be a... Why is this failing? Because it did it wrong. That's not how minimum works. This should return the smaller one. Oh, no, it should return which one is... Oh, that's actually kind of hard. I can't just do... No, that's fine. That's fine, semantics. Returns the smaller... The new size with the smaller dimension of the two sizes. Not sure if min is the right word for that in this case, actually. But I do want it to sort of bound it. Anyway, I'll keep it for now. Maybe that name sucks. To do, is this name weird? I don't know. Okay, going back to main, going back to border. All right, well, I didn't mean to spend so much stupid time on border, but I did. And there's still the problem, which is that drawing the border shouldn't happen if we don't have enough room for it. But that's okay. I mean, yeah, I'll probably put something eventually to not panic if I draw outside of the bounds in the buffer and to instead just not render anything. But for now, I kind of want to know when I do these things to do. Don't draw if outside of bounds. Sure. Okay. Cool. What next? Um, I should probably abstract this somehow. I did actually already. Can I import it from tests? I can. Yay. All right, cool. And then use pretty assertions. I want that always. Probably make some test utilities. Let me run all the tests that I've written so far. What the? Go away. All right, cargo test. All right, something has failed. What? This failed. What failed? Cannot find this in scope. Oh, oh yes. This was back when this was in the other. Did some refactoring. So just doc tests are failing. Line 31. Oh, more of that. And where now? Inset by 94. Is it just that? Oh, no. It now takes more arguments. Now we have greenness. Green. Oh, I don't think I want to commit that. Do I want to commit prop test regressions? Seeds for failure cases. It is recommended to seeds for failure cases. Prop test is generated in the past. It is automatically read. Oh, that's super cool. That's neat. I've never seen that before. Fun pattern. Green tests. Fixed padding silliness. Cool. Well, yay. So things are progressing. There's a whole bunch I didn't get to show off exactly. Mainly the how the async stuff works. So maybe I'll do that briefly. So yeah, in this particular, with this demo here, whenever I hit the L key, it adds a bunch of issues and re-renders. And the way that works is as part of this async terminal app interface, there's a render method, which just, you return one of those views using the view DSL. And there's an update method. This is the typical sort of Elm architecture reduxy thing where you have a render and an update sort of pattern. And this receives messages, which are either terminal key events. So there's that. So if we go up and down, we'll navigate the issues up and down. If you hit the L key, though, you will spawn a new future thing. And I really don't like all the boilerplate for Rust async, but that's fine. And then 5 times we will send a load issue message, which will be received back by the same update loop later on. And then I sleep for 100 millis. And then when we receive that message, we can just handle it synchronously, and I generate a random issue and then push it into our issues. And I don't really like what I'm doing here, but in fact, I could certainly simplify this, but this returns a Boolean right now for like, do you want to keep going? That's not very clear, I realize. To do replace Boolean with something else. I'm not sure with the result, but I need some way of signaling that, hey, I'm done. Maybe a result is the way to do that. And if it's okay, good, and there's like some special exit result you can throw with or something. I don't know. I'll see what other libraries do. Oh, I got a notification from OBS. Is that a problem? No, I'm still streaming. Okay. So you have the render method, you have an update method, you can have some custom message type. In that main, it's simply this single load issue message, but it could be much more complicated, obviously. Any kind of message you want to receive asynchronously from some source. And there's this optional handle exit thing, which is called when your app exits, if you want to return some sort of closing view and wipe out the existing state. So there's that. How would that look? Can I show that off? I would basically just go to my implementation for this and make a function for handle exit. And I could say text done in red. And then when I run this, when I hit quit, it deletes it and replaces it with done. Uh-oh. Border. It'll look prettier with a border. Yay. Border color? I do have that, right? Color blue. Will that work? Is that broken? Yay. So that can be nice if you don't want to keep your giant thing on the screen. I'm thinking of for that that sort of version updating tool. You would just show the versions that were actually updated with some happy message. So that's nice. Where did it go? Terminal app. Oh yeah. So the way this is vaguely based on Ratatouille's example documentation and recommendations for doing this thing, because I don't know how to do async Rust, but now I kind of do by looking at those examples. So thanks to Ratatouille's docs. But I have this event handler thing that spawn it off. And then I just read from this event stream that crossterm has. So just basically every key event we're going to get out of this over and over again. And I'm using this crazy Tokyo select thing. I'm not sure if I need to do that in this case because there's only one, but whatever. So every time this stream emits something, and I don't know what's up with the next views at all. I've got to look into those docs. I needed another library or something. What does next do? Creates a future that resolves to the next item in the stream. And then I don't know what a fuse does. Fuse is a future such that poll will never be called once it is completed. This method can be used to turn any future into a fused future. Oh, duh, of course, that's what fuse does. It turns it into a fused future. So that all seems horribly verbose and weird, but fine, I guess, if that makes sense. Basically, it's going to pull off all the events and send them into this unbounded sender, which is one half of like a channel that I've created down below. So for key events, we get the receiver and the sender. And I don't know what's up with the TX pattern, but I've seen that. RX, TX, reader, transmitter, transactor, I don't know. Oh, Tokyo Spawn creates a new virtual thread. I don't know if it is a virtual thread exactly. I guess it must be, right? It creates this future thing. I'm not really completely certain on the semantics of Rust's threads. I think they're not green threads, but I also don't know if they're not green threads either. But this, yeah, will create a join handle. So it feels very much like a fiber in Zio parlance, or a future. And there is something called a future, but this is a little different. This is spawning a future. So yes, I think this must start executing something and give you a handle onto it. I need to read something about this. And then next time I can let you know. But I'm sort of just, vaguely feeling my way via metaphors and Zio comparisons. So yeah, it kind of feels like a fiber. And these are sort of a pub sub model. You get a DQ and an NQ. And that's what those channels are. I mean, and I think it's all from Go, this pattern, MPSC. And I think select is from Go too. I was looking at some Go for some reason earlier today, and I saw they have a select keyword built in. So this looks like crazy syntax, and like, what the hell's going on here? And it's a weird, I mean, it's a macro, so it can be literally anything. And you don't get autocomplete inside, which is awful. But this is something that is a future. So I'm reading from an event stream. It's kind of a sort of a race between all of these different things. Whichever one receives first, it's going to bind it. If it receives and matches, then it's going to execute the code block and return, and sort of like interrupt, or at least not continue listening to those other things. And then it will loop and keep doing that over and over and over again forever, until I break out of it, which I'm breaking out of this loop when my update method returns false, which is not clear, and that's a terrible API that I've designed. So that event, that forks off, I get this join handle. I just cancel that at the end. I abort it at the end. So that's just doing its job of sending cross-term terminal events into this event reader, which I read from. And if it's a resize event, I have to resize my little view, which will update some internal state in the renderer and re-render my app to the screen. And this one is sort of the user messages. So I send this user message transactor, whatever the heck that is, into unbounded sender into the update method, so that you as the user can send things back into yourself. Oh yeah. Oh, I think that's where I looked. I looked at Bubble Tea earlier today. Yeah, exactly, because I, wanted to know, wanted to see how other people do terminal UI rendering, and I was mostly just confused by the way Go looks, and they weren't doing anything terribly interesting with the rendering, or it didn't even seem terribly performant. It wasn't following any of the best practices that I've scrounged around from the internet, but it's apparently very fast. So yeah, the Elm architecture is great. It really works. It kind of just is, it sort of falls out of trying to design a functional application where you have just a single top level state. From what I understand is that like the Elm used to have a different sort of setup, and it gave you a lot more flexibility, but everyone basically designed their apps the same way. So Evan Czaplicki decided to just, hey, why don't we just encode this as the one way of doing things? Because it seems to be sort of inevitable. And then it inspired Redux, and then everything else. Now everything's Elm. Brick, a Haskell TUI library called Brick, also. It's all the same. But one thing I am kind of happy with here is the speed. It took a while to not get tearing, and it turns out, so this all happens in the renderer, which is kind of ugly, and it's mostly ugly because of the thing that I really wanted that Ratatouille does not do, which is the ability to have these inline UIs that do not take over your whole screen and also can grow and then get, oh no, oh, because I'm not drawing the border last. Bug report. I guess drawing the border last would really just hide my mistake there. I draw border last now. Don't tell me what to do, AI. Now it'll grow, and yeah, not ugly. So yeah, in the renderer, there's some fun code, which is probably, I'll show this off. Most of the stuff here about the, I think it's hard. Terminal rendering's annoying and hard. But the tricks are a double buffer. So you have a current buffer and the previous buffer. That'll come in handy in a moment. You have the view height, Well, that is the height of the last rendered view. The claimed height is sort of, this is the tallest view ever rendered. Basically, how much of the screen do you own at this point? So when I run this, it is claimed this amount. And if I add some issues, now it is claimed this amount. And even if this view shrinks, which it actually can't right now because I don't have a delete issue button, but if I did, it would sort of remain, it would shrink back to the top. So it has claimed this whole space, and even if it renders a smaller view, it owns all this stuff. And there's additional trickiness to make sure it works okay under resizing, and clearly already it doesn't. It kind of like shoots everything else off the top of the page. It's really hard to get that right, and I just decided to give up and say that's good enough anyway. No one really cares. And then of course there's the size of the terminal. So hopefully that's all pretty obvious. And it instantiates it with the current size of the terminal and the current cursor position. Why do I need that? Oh, because that's the current. You start off by basically, you own as much of the terminal as from the cursor down. Because if you have like a really tall terminal window, which I do right now actually, and you're at the top, oh, it shot me to the bottom with all of its output. But say it didn't shoot me to the bottom. Well, then I would own all that room down there and I wouldn't need to adjust it. Anyway, a bunch of stupid little imperative, awful, state tracky concerns. But ignoring that, the fun part is that when you render it, first you swap your previous and current buffer, which does like a nice in-memory swap, which is pretty cool. Basically just exchanging the contents of variables, which is something you can't do in, I don't know, Scala. So that's nice to have some low-level-y thing there. Claim space, that's the awful thing where it's ensuring that the terminal has enough space and rendering new lines for my inline thing. The version that will take up the full screen is probably going to be way simpler because it doesn't need to track all that bullshit. And then really the only other interesting stuff is this print buffer method, which is a little long, but there's so many details around rendering to the terminal quickly. It's impressive how slow terminal rendering is, and like that you ever get any kind of flashes at all. Luckily, I've optimized it enough now that I'm not getting those here. Some terminals will flash if I use a different one. And this is basically what Ratatouille does, which is sort of what you're supposed to do. Which is first, diff the current buffer with the previous buffer. And this will basically see, okay, for each cell in each buffer, which cells have changed. And a cell is the string, the foreground color, the background color, and then a modifier, which is, is it bold or blinking or reverse or whatever those things. So it's only going to return the XY coordinates, returns the X, Y, and cell for each diff. And then it tracks some state. Oh, my cat just did some climbing. That was very impressive, Worm. So she just tried to climb up a pole, which she didn't completely succeed at, but she is okay. So one thing I actually learned, and I didn't realize this until today, is that, well, let me back up in case you don't know anything about terminal rendering, because it's an awful dark art that you really shouldn't ever learn about. But terminal is one interface, and that's printing to standard out, like print line. That's all you've got, or print rather. Print line is print, and then it adds a new line. And in order to do certain things, you have to print escape sequences. This thing called like a CSI code, which is something. So escape sequence for rendering color, foreground color as red would be that. So there's some like null byte. Yeah, there's some crazy shit. But if you print this out to the terminal, it will set in internal terminal emulator state that the current foreground color is red. And I was really foolish for a while because I thought, based on, using Scala and other libraries, basically every library that I've ever done terminal rendering in, is you write something like this. So in Scala, you'll use, there's scala.console.red plus my red text plus console.reset plus my normal text, something like this. And if you're just reading this, you might assume how like the semantics of the console. And by the way, this would get printed out red. This would be printed out as sort of normal color, so white or black, depending on your terminal scheme. And yeah, there's the interpolated version, but you wouldn't see that because the terminal would interpret this secretly and just start printing this text as red, and then that text is normal. So my confusion here, or assumption that I've had for years, is that this will apply to the text following it. And then this will apply to the text following it. But that is not how it works. It really is. You have to think of this writer, the standard output that you're writing to. It's really receiving these commands. And when it receives a normal character, like H, so let's break up my red text into just the letter M first. So it interprets this as basically write the character, or whatever, the character M to the current cursor position, and sort of move the cursor to the right, which So it's not just printing it out. It's not just It's not just taking this whole thing as like, oh yeah, I'm going to have red, and this is going to be red text, and then this is going to be reset text. It's more like when it reads console red, it's going to set current foreground color across the entire terminal. To red. So you're changing your paintbrush setting in general across everything, and you're just feeding this into the reader or the writer, I guess, in Rust parlance here, the standard out. It's interpreting that escape sequence and like updating its color palette. And then it just so happens that you then tend to follow, like when you're just writing this in normal Scala text, you then happen to write some text that will be printed out at the current cursor. So it looks like it's kind of just happening where you are going forward. And the idea that you're changing some like global setting here doesn't really make sense, isn't very clear. But then there are other commands such as move to xy equals whatever. So there's another escape sequence for moving the cursor. And a whole bunch of other ones as well. Set color, whatever. Okay, enough AI. So what you can do is you can actually first set your color to red, then move to position 0, 0, and then print this. And that's going to actually be red text still. It's going to be red until you feed in console.reset, which will change the sort of imperatively the state of the terminal. Anyway, that was a long tangent. But I was stupid and just thought that it was sort of going from left to right and just coloring that immediate bit of text there, like that color had to live before the text, like it was embedded into the terminal at that position. Not true. The characters that you're writing are sort of going to be colored based on the current color setting. And you're not ever actually writing those escape sequences into the terminal window. That's not secretly as hidden characters in the buffer anywhere. It's not like markdown. I guess I sort of had more of a markdown idea of hello, like those that if you did bold plus hello, whatever plus reset, I thought that maybe there was some secret symbols that you couldn't see, like markdown. But no, those characters are bold because you had the bold setting turned on when they were written, if that makes sense. So you can move around in between here until you reset that color palette. It's all going to be the same. Which allows you to implement this algorithm differently than you might have thought otherwise, or I thought otherwise, because you could store the last color, the last, basically these are your current drawing settings. They're going to start out at reset, which is, normal color, whatever that is, black or white, depending on your settings. So everything starts out as empty, basic. You track your last X and Y position as well for a reason. And why am I doing that? I don't really need to do that. That's better. And so then at every diff, you check to see, hey, is this cell's foreground color different than the last foreground color? And the word last is maybe, I guess it works, but the sort of the terminal's foreground color at this point. And if it is different, then you will update the foreground color and then store what your current foreground color is. It's super obvious. And then you do the same thing with your modifiers, which are a little more complicated. And then finally, if the last thing that you wrote wasn't directly to the left, because remember, every time you add a character, it automatically bumps you over one position. So you only need to write this move to command if your previous position wasn't one to the left. And then finally, you can print the character, which will print it with all the settings that have been previously set. And that makes a lot of sense, unless you somehow think that you can't move after setting foreground colors because that needs to happen beforehand. And that's what I thought. But anyway, this algorithm, which is basically Ratatouille's, is great. And then at the end, you want to make sure you reset all your attributes so that when you start, these states are correct. I guess I could also do that first. But anyway, yeah, that's basically it. Anyway, I've been going on for a while, and I hope that was interesting. Most of it was debugging, so not the greatest session in the world, but yeah. Unless there are any final questions, I might peace out into the void and think of something more interesting for tomorrow to show off or work on. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you around. Bonsoir. Good night, Ava.